New Happy Time Patreon with hours of exclusive content. More info at the end. When you think of Marvel video games, you probably think Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, X-Men Origins Wolverine, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2. These two were basically carrying Marvel throughout their bankruptcy. But what's funny is that when Marvel was the biggest thing in entertainment, when they were able to make their D-listers household names, there were basically no Marvel video games. There were a few games during Phase 1 of the MCU, but those seem like the last breath of a dying era. Can you imagine if there was a game for every single MCU movie? Just 42 shitty beat-em-ups and third-person shooters? When they finally made that big-budget Avengers game, it was so late to the party that no one cared. It's probably also because you play most of the game as Kamala Harris before it turns into a Destiny clone. But when Marvel was struggling, both during their bankruptcy in the 90s and the awkward movies between Spider-Man and Iron Man, we got a ton of video games based on the other guys. This is a long-winded way of saying I'm going to go through some of the Marvel games that don't feature Spider-Man or the X-Men. The NES era had a decent amount of Marvel games, most of them action platformers. Captain America and the Avengers was a beat-em-up on every other console, but on the NES, it's actually a wholly unique action platformer, where Cap and Hawkeye get trapped in the Ska dimension. There's Silver Surfer, made infamous by the AVGN episode. The best thing to come out of that game is the excellent Tim Follin music. But the game that caught my attention was The Punisher on NES. Kind of an inappropriate license for the NES. Not Friday the 13th or Platoon levels of inappropriate, but still kinda weird. It's a rail shooter that surprisingly doesn't use the zapper. I guess Nintendo didn't want their accessory used for actual murder. You move the cursor and the Punisher with the D-pad. The Punisher starts the move after you start to move the cursor. It's a little weird, but you do get used to it. It creates this scenario where you have to choose either to dodge or to shoot somebody, since you need to move the cursor to move. Sometimes so many enemies pop up that you're just gonna have to take a hit, especially if you're in a bad starting position. The levels have no music, which I thought might have been an emulation thing, but then the sax man will just randomly appear in each level. I hate jazz. I like this game in a weird way. It's kind of like a carnival game you can play for a few minutes. And it does capture the spirit of the Punisher, shooting people. There's a Game Boy version called Punisher Ultimate Payback. It's entirely in first person, which means you get shot without any way to dodge. So it's just memorization. The only joy I got out of it was seeing the gangsters roll in on shopping carts and rollerblades. What whimsical murderers. Of course, the Punisher is more famous for the Capcom beat-em-up. And it's fantastic. The combat is excellent, everything feels impactful, the role is super fun to use, and you get great variety with the enemies and stages. This was during Capcom's peak in the arcades, and man, does it show. By pressing jump and attack, you do the get off my ass move. And when you do it when grabbing an enemy, you so long Gay Bowser them. I didn't even realize till the end of the game that you have these special moves with fighting game inputs. They really did a lot with just 2 buttons. There's even a bonus game towards the middle. You can tell from just looking at it that this game is beautiful, really pushing the CPS1 system. Man, I really do love the Punisher's classic costume. It sucks that they can't use that sweet logo anymore because of reasons. Maybe they just need to reinvent the Punisher's look for a new generation. Or not, I don't really care about this shit. The game was stuck in the arcades for more than 30 years, so it's great that this game was included in the Marvel vs. Capcom collection. It's not $50 for a bunch of ROMs great, but it's still nice that you can actually buy it now. The best you had back then was the Genesis port. It's obviously going to be inferior in graphics and sound, but also the gameplay just isn't as fun. Hits feel slower and don't have the same impact. Plus your roll can only go in one direction, so it's way less fun. Also, why is your jump so high? The enemies aren't that tall. This port is like a nicotine patch to the arcade's fine Cuban cigar. Speaking of 16-bit, here we have The Incredible Hulk on SNES. This game asks the question, have you ever wanted to play as the Hulk, but also a giant pussy? Well, this is the game for you. It's nothing special. Controls feel delayed, the first level is a sewer, and the enemies have no pattern, so you're just constantly taking hits. I like the Hulk's frumpy walk cycle though.
Hulk's dick's still human size.
If you lose your health, you change back into Banner, and you can't attack, so you just have to avoid enemies. Unless you're stuck in a boss room, then you just have to hide until you die. Okay, gang, let's come up with a plan. You can get a gun as Bruce. Oh, it only has 2 bullets? Well, fuck me. This one just sucks. Staying with the Hulk, we got Hulk, the Pantheon Saga on PS1. This one is sort of a pre-rendered 3D beat-em-up. Hulk's got a fun run cycle in this one too. Reminds me of my dad when I stole his cigarettes. You run around breaking glass just wondering what to do. Well, you gotta hit all the switches so you can activate the elevator. Wow, what a great use of the Hulk. Hulk nudge! This game wasn't drawing me in. Also on PS1 was Iron Man and XO Manowar in heavy metal. Was Iron Man that much of a B-lister that he was sharing top billing with some fucker named Manowar? Who's that guy's agent? It's a 2D run and gun where you can fly around until you can't. You then fight the first boss who makes the horrific transformation from 5'8" to 6'2". Next. Here's one that I was looking forward to. Fantastic Four on PS1. I didn't even know about this one until I started researching for this video. The game's opening has some wonderful 90s CGI jank, and then the FMV just cuts off early. I didn't press start or anything. That's just how it ends, which should be a good sign of the game's quality. The game does have some personality with its UI, menu music, and this squash with eyes. You even have a little racing minigame for the loading screens. This must have been before the Namco patent. You can play as all 4 members, or She-Hulk. Ah, She-Hulk, my Grebany goddess. I'll never forgive what Feige did to you. Feige. Middle school must have sucked for you, man. Ultimately, the game is just a below-average beat-em-up. All the characters look like paper dolls, and everyone moves like a Canadian Flash cartoon. You have 3 moves, the attacks barely have any reach, and most enemies have projectiles. You can block, but like, do you even care? The game starts easy, but once you get to Subatomica, the game gets exponentially harder. Enemies come in big crowds and they just lunge at you. There's these mini-bosses in between, which, whether you win or lose, nothing happens. I guess they just thought it would be fun? I mean, not with this combat. There's literally like 6 moves. You can switch between the Fantastic Four and the pause screen, which does add some variety, but there's barely any moves, so you'll get bored of all of them pretty quickly. Besides some interesting visuals and music, this is just a bad beat-em-up. After Fantastic Four, we would get Marvel games based on their first foray into movies. Well, the first foray when they actually gave a shit. Blade is quite the influential movie. An R-rated Marvel movie with a black main character. Hell, it even had the whole trenchcoat rave aesthetic before The Matrix. It was also a trendsetter in being the first Marvel movie to have a game adaptation. 2000's Blade for the PS1. The game gives off a good impression with the menu music. I am Blood. You start the game and the controls are weird. It's not quite tank controls, but not exactly full 360 motion. It's some weird in-between where you'll start turning if you go too far left or right. The combat is just a simple 3-hit combo, and it gets really awkward when you get close to an enemy. The worst part about the game is your field of view. You can't really see around corners, so you just have to know if an enemy is there. And if they have a machine gun, you're fucked. After this little scene with the dock workers, voiced by Hank Azaria,
you know who we're working for, man. The Palatine do not screw around.
The game introduces zombies. These guys really suck. They take forever to kill, and you have to kill them twice. Even with a shotgun point blank, it barely does any damage. It also takes like 45 seconds to turn around, so if you get into a room and there's someone behind you, you just have to flail around hoping you can get out. A quick turn button would have been really nice. There is some charm to the game. It managed to keep me going for an hour before I gave up, but it's not good enough to keep me playing. I think they should have gone with a top-down perspective, since the third-person movement is so awkward. Just compare this to Spider-Man, which also came out on the PS1 the same year. Or just go with a fixed camera if you're already gonna rip off Resident Evil. Maybe Wesley Snipes could have laundered some money into this game to make it better, and avoid tax fraud. I wonder how Wesley did in prison. The inmates got to hang out with Blade, and he got locked up for, like, the coolest crime. I bet he was making ramen noodle cake every night. Well, we're finally out of the 5th gen. And hey, let's see if Blade 2 made any improvements on the first one. If you want to understand the budget for this game, the opening movie is just the trailer for Blade 2 on DVD and VHS. Yeah, okay. Out of my way, I need to get Blade 2 on VHS! This game does have that weird, tanky movement like the last one, although not nearly as bad. It's that kind of camera that's always behind you, kind of like GTA 3. Makes it hard to see what's coming up behind you. The tutorial teaches you the basics, and by basics, I mean it doesn't teach you most things. It tells you how to jump, how to shoot and strafe, and how the combat is done with the right analog stick. Ew. It doesn't tell you about rage mode with R1, how you can quick turn by double tapping down, these finishing moves which I never learned how they work, or why text with sword and shield will just pop up while I'm playing. It's a terrible tutorial. Each mission is pretty simple. You just have to go around and hit a certain number of things and get to the exit. The game has a sort of cartoony look. Everyone kind of looks like small soldiers mixed with Bone Town. The lock-on system is total ass. Luckily, hip firing is very effective, and you can just load up on pistol ammo at the beginning, so conserving ammo isn't usually a priority. You also have the glaive, which kind of works like the Wind Waker boomerang. It is very funny how bluntly it decapitates people, especially through doors. But it's not practical since it takes so long to actually fire. The hand-to-hand combat is very strange. I'm guessing they use the analog stick since you don't have camera control, and that allows you to attack in all directions. Your running attack is absolute ass, so you have to stop to hit enemies, and it never feels right. I think they wanted something like Arkham where you bounce between enemies in all directions, but what ends up happening is you either get interrupted mid-combo, or the enemies just wait for you like a Steven Seagal fight. The game starts off alright, nothing great, but still pretty interesting. But then you get to the nightclub, and the game is like, we gotta clear the room. And you're like, oh, is there a switch or something? Nope, they just mean kill every vampire in the room. It is satisfying to activate rage mode and just clear a group of enemies. Wait a minute, am I having fun? What the fuck? Yeah, the sheer number of enemies combined with their brain-dead AI gives this game a sort of mindless pleasure, like taking out cops in GTA 3. I actually went back for a second playthrough just to beat the first campaign, which shows that this game is pretty fun. I only beat the first campaign, so I can give a hesitant recommendation to the first third of Blade 2 on PS2. Let me know how the rest goes. Moving on to the GBA, this console was packed with not Spider-Man and not X-Men, like Fantastic Four, The Flaming Man. This is probably the best of the GBA games. Good graphics, good amount of moves, and Johnny Storm snowboarding levels. We also have regular Fantastic Four and Hulk, which are those weird isometric pre-rendered beat-em-ups, similar to Pantheon Saga, and just as shitty. So many licensed GBA games use this same gameplay and graphics style. Is there a reason why this type of game was so common on the handheld? Is there a good GBA game that's in this style? I'm genuinely curious. But the Marvel GBA game that I want to talk about defies reason. Daredevil for Game Boy Advance. I'm not shocked this exists. I'm more shocked this is the only Daredevil game to exist. Like, there should be a Daredevil PS2 game that's a shitty beat-em-up with bad stealth sections. But no, there is only the Game Boy Advance game. For the movie that was clearly going for a darker tone, the one that has an R-rated director's cut on DVD, it has a game that looks more suited for a Marvel plug-and-play. I mean, the game starts with these stills from the movie, and then the actual game starts, and the color contrast could blind you. It's an action platformer, your standard licensed GBA affair. There's one punch combo, or you can use your baton to stun guys, I guess. Honestly, the combat was so boring that I just ran past the enemies. You also have your blind vision, which reveals collectibles, and that's pretty much it. The first level has these little edges that blend perfectly into the background that I discovered by accident. The next level has you jumping on top of moving cars, which is kind of an interesting set piece. Okay, so you're gonna hide in a crate on top of a moving car. And when Daredevil breaks open the crate, if he chooses to, you're gonna jump at him with a knife on top of the moving car. Yeah, this is garbage. Let's head back to consoles with Hulk, based on the 2003 movie. I saw that movie as a kid. I think he fought a cloud at the end, and the cloud was his dad. I don't even know. The game starts out promising in this tiny little tutorial area. Even though you don't have a lot of moves as the Hulk, the combat does have a good feel to it. Every hit has this great impact that really feels like there's a ton of force behind it. So you get the feeling that this is going to be some kind of beat 'em up. But then you get to the next level where you're just regular Bruce Banner. Hello. This is the second tutorial that shows you the other half of the game, which is stealth sections as Bruce Banner. It's really basic, hide behind something when a guard comes by. I think Ocarina of Time had better stealth than this.
You can't catch me, gay thoughts!
Oh, hacking minigames too? What, because Banner is smart? You know, he's more of a biologist than a programmer. Luckily, after that short level, we're back as the Hulk. The Hulk sections are pretty Mountain Dew. You just go from room to room, or roof to roof, beating up everybody in sight. Sometimes the game mixes it up, and you have to destroy something in another room so you can open a door. I don't mind the linearity, but you need more engaging combat if your game is going to be this linear. The hits do feel satisfying, but the game gets repetitive pretty quickly. The Hulk definitely needs some more moves. Then you get to your first real Banner level, and the stealth is just lame. The worst part is that the stealth sections have this fixed camera, so you can go around a corner and run headfirst into a guard that was off camera. You can hold L to look in first person, which does help, but if you're trying to take cover, oh man, look at the detail on this crate. Look, I get it. The Hulk sections are pretty simplistic, so you need something to give your game some length so that people renting it at Blockbuster don't beat it over a weekend. Funny enough, the Hulk sections are much more satisfying to play after a shitty stealth section. Now that's a backhanded compliment. There's definitely a solid foundation here with the Hulk gameplay, but you would have to expand his moveset, open up the map, and get rid of the stealth sections. Luckily, that's exactly what Radical did with the next Hulk game, and it's one of the best superhero games ever made. 2005's Hulk Ultimate Destruction was considered one of the greatest superhero games ever made. But honestly, guys, playing it today, yeah, they're right, this game rules. It's an open world game where you just beat the shit out of everything. Your hits have the same impact as the last game, but now the moveset has been expanded with combos, air attacks, a run button, and special abilities like turning a car into steel gauntlets. That's sick as hell, dude. After the tutorial, you're thrown into a city and can choose to progress the story, do challenges for more points, or just fuck around. I thought the game's story was some sort of simulation, which is how they got away with the Hulk beating up civilians in a T-rated game. But no, this is the actual Marvel's The Hulk trademark doing this. I guess you can do whatever you want to civilians as long as you don't show blood. You know, I'm fine with throwing women off a building, but picking up a cow and slamming it into another cow? That's just mean. The movement in this game is excellent. It's fun to just jump around from building to building. The story missions are all pretty simple. They require you to smash stuff and deliver something, or follow something, and then smash it. The game actually gives you subtle hints on what you're supposed to do. The story missions don't have a ton of variety, but the game keeps upping the challenge with new enemy types. Hulk will recharge his health if he's not hit for a bit, and there's health scattered around, so tactfully retreating is a part of the game. Well, it's more like tactfully dodging a bunch of homing missiles as you jump in between buildings for cover. Damn, this game is cool. The challenge missions are where the game can really let loose and give you some fun shit to do. They really test your handle on the movement with missions like destroying spotlights on buildings or delivering an ambulance. Don't worry, we'll get you to the hospital. The game gets pretty challenging later on. You can't just charge into enemy fire just because you're the Hulk. That's where the moves come in, which you can buy with points you get from missions and collectibles. There are a ton of moves in this game, and you need to utilize all of them if you want to take out tougher enemies like the mechs. You really feel a sense of progression after you just suplex the helicopters that were giving you so much shit early in the game. I thought the game was just going to be the city map and about 20 moves to unlock, which was already good. But then the game surprised me with an entirely different desert map and like 20 more moves that unlock every chapter. Like, I'm not even scratching the surface. There's so many moves in this game. There's also just fun Easter eggs. Like when you pick up this gorilla balloon, it actually lets you float through the air. When I found that out, I yelled, "That is tits," to no one in my apartment. Hulk Ultimate Destruction is an absolute classic. It really proved that Radical could make games that weren't just good for licensed games. They used Ultimate Destruction as the base for their own IP, Prototype, which is also a classic. 2005 had a lot of these weirdo Marvel games, such as Fantastic Four. Now this one's a childhood classic. I always hated it! This one is based on the movie. A movie that asked the question, what if we made the Fantastic Four for douchebags? We start the game and, alright, we're right into the action.
How in the name of Miss Sweet Aunt Petunia did I get here anyway?
Oh, no, don't flash back to the space station. Shit. Well, we actually start the game as 3D Michael Chiklis slowly floating through space, putting the square peg in the square hole. I'm honestly just confused. Like, this could have just been a cutscene, but no, they put an effort to make this boring. After that exciting origin story, we wake up as Reed Richards in the hospital. Oh my god. I want to play as the fucking Fantastic Four. Seriously, the Fantastic Four have the most boring origin story. They got hit by cosmic rays. That's it. That's all you need to know. Can we just please fight Dr. Dan? The game's a beat 'em up, and not a good one. You got a couple of moves and some special attacks, like Reed has spider mines. Sure, why not? This first level introduces you to each character until eventually fighting a boss as all four of them. This game looks bad, even for a 2005 licensed game. There's not even anything stylistic like Blade 2. It's just really bad imitations of real actors. Funny enough, there's unlockable levels when you beat the game that are inspired by the comics, and it has a unique art style that's much better. I mean, it's still not great, but it's better than dead-eyed Jessica Alba. After the bridge scene from the movie, the game flashes forward, and now they're already the Fantastic Four. And now the game basically becomes its own original Fantastic Four beat-em-up. It's like the developers were actual fans of the comics, and they just said, fuck your movie. While it's cool that the game does its own thing, it's still not fun. The combat in this game doesn't feel good. Hits lack impact, and you don't really get that feedback that you get with a good beat-em-up. The characters don't make any sounds while attacking, and all the sounds are just stock cartoon sound effects. I feel I'm just whiffing punches on these bosses, and then sometimes the health goes down. I mean, just look how hard I can pee. There's also these team-up moves, but they're hard to pull off since you're relying on the CPU to be close to you. Definitely something made for co-op. Besides combat, there's also a hacking minigame. Jesus Christ. I mean, when your whole game is combat and the combat isn't fun, then it's a bad game. I don't know what else to say. What's also frustrating is that you only play as 2 members of the team, except for the boss fights. Even on GameCube, this game doesn't have 4-player multiplayer. It's a Fantastic Four game where I barely get to play as the whole team. I mean, with 4 players, the game would still suck, but at least it would be a little more interesting. Well, maybe the sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer on PS3 might fix these problems. Welcome to the next gen. Well, you can switch between all 4 members, which is already a plus. The combat feels slightly better, and the team-up attacks are much easier to pull off. But this still isn't that good. I don't know. I think this map is just too big for your walk speed. Plus, you got the scrolls shooting at you from a distance. I don't mind that the game is linear, but it drags on these levels for way too long. Like, I blow up this rock to make a bridge, and I can't just jump down. I have to go around and take the same way back. Literally, all 4 of you can make that jump. Sue can carry all of you down there. There's parts where you're the Human Torch in a sort of rail shooter segment, which is funny because I fly through this path that's like 2 miles long, full of scrolls and lava, just so I can press a switch, and then everyone's here in 5 seconds. You'll notice that when I emulated this game, it couldn't read Johnny's flame effect, so it's just a black void. It's like every time he flames on, there's a big sensor bar over him.
And while you're at it, unblur your face.
Oh, man!
This one's just okay. There's also the PS2 version, which has a more top-down perspective. It's kind of like Ultimate Alliance, but there's only 4 characters. Again, this is just a mediocre beat-em-up. You know, the Fantastic Four could make for a great 4-player beat-em-up. They've just fucked up every time. I'm sick of looking at these blue assholes. Except for you, Ben. I could never be mad at you. Let's get back on track with the final Marvel game of 2005. The Punisher on PS2. Frank Castle is back and doing what he does best. Shooting dumb Italians.
The old New York is waiting just below the surface. There's nothing to help you when the darkness falls. You're laid open so the world can rummage in your guts.
Dude, just move. It's a third-person shooter similar to Max Payne. Although instead of bullet time, you can grab enemies for human shields, throw them, interrogate them, or execute them. During interrogations, you use the analog stick to keep this meter in the yellow, and it takes a little bit to get the rhythm. You want to get better at it so you can stop accidentally killing people and start purposefully killing people. Sorry, man. Stick drift. There's also these environmental kills that the game will not so subtly hint at, and these are definitely a highlight of the game. You almost feel bad when you miss out on an environmental kill because they're pretty damn goofy. Like, this is a Tom and Jerry ass execution. But some are also absolutely brutal. This game is hilarious, both intentionally and unintentionally.
Open the gate.
No way! The Nucci's will kill me just like they killed all those poor animals.
They're all dead.
Okay.
The game controls really well. It's a shooter that's adjusted for dual analog controls. You can zoom in with L3 for precise headshots that can one-shot most enemies. A few more shots to the head and you're going down. Dual wielding and hip firing is pretty effective though. It's comical how clumsy you can be and still not die. This game is completely self-indulgent in the best way possible. It's not a very difficult game, but it still gives you the satisfaction of being an unstoppable vigilante. That's why the Punisher is so popular. His only superpower is having a gun.
Quite a time you've been having lately, eh, Castle?
It's my constitutional right to scream the N-word.
There's even an assload of bonuses to encourage replays. Ah, sweet, the trailer for Punisher on DVD. This one is definitely worth checking out. Who would have thought that the Punisher would have the most consistently good catalog of games? Who would have thought the Fantastic Four would be the most consistently shit?
Happy birthday, bitches!
Let's wrap this up with 2007's Ghost Rider on PS2. The whole reason I made this video. This game actually kicks ass. I mean, it's no Hulk Ultimate Destruction, but this is a pretty damn good God of Devil May Warcry clone. The story is that stuntman Johnny Blaze sells his soul to the devil Mephisto in exchange for his dad not dying of cancer. I mean, he could die of something else. Also, he's a stuntman, so what the fuck? I don't think you thought this through, Johnny. What is this, 2012cracked.com? After that, you find out that Mephisto wants Ghost Rider to fight the demons because if they go crazy on Earth, then the angels will take away his kingdom. But Blackheart wants the demons to rule, and then turns out Mephisto was making Ghost Rider make a glyph with his motorcycle. It gets confusing instantly. Point is, Flaming Skull is gonna fight demons. This game's combat is really fun. There's lots of different combos, and hits feel really satisfying. You have your basic light and heavy attacks, blocking, an all-out attack, and I'm just gonna call it Devil Trigger. This game is blatant with its inspirations, but at least they did a good job ripping something off. This game doesn't waste any time. There's no fucking hacking minigame or stealth section. You're put straight into hell fighting demons. Most of the moves don't lock you into the animation, so you can jump cancel and chain multiple combos together really quickly, giving the combat a good flow. It's not the pinnacle of combat, but it's still fun. The maps are very linear, so the game doesn't waste any of your time. I didn't even know there was a map screen until the very end. Oh, thank God. I lost where I was going. It's got the style meter like Devil May Cry, and the better you do, the more points you get to spend at the Sam Elliott upgrade screen.
Done.
Cross that off the list. Besides combat, there's also these Road Rash style motorcycle levels, which are basic but still pretty fun. It's nothing amazing, it's not meant to be controlled like a racing game, and it's more like Temple Run, but it's a fun test of reflexes and a good way to incorporate Ghost Rider's motorcycle. The game is short. You can beat it in about 3 hours. I played it on the normal difficulty and only died twice at the final level. And one of those times was just because I was vomit locked. I'd say the game has good pacing, but you can get a lot of spirit points early on and unlock your full moveset before the 3rd stage. So by the time you get to the last 2 stages, you've already unlocked all the moves, so the game starts to lose its flame. Then there's the bosses. 2 of them are motorcycle chases, so those don't count. Lilith is the first real boss, and all she does is put up a shield while summoning lackeys. You have to abuse your Devil Trigger and all-out attack when she puts her shield down, since normal combos do dick. And this does show how fast your Devil Trigger recovers. I think that's fine, the game is designed around it. Although since it happens so much, maybe don't have an 8-second animation every time it happens. After that is Scarecrow. How does the copyright work for that? And his fight is actually pretty cool, but with the Devil Trigger, it's over too quickly. Then you fight Blackheart, who looks so much cooler than the movie. Seriously, the movie Blackheart is just Blue Baraka. And well, just take a look at this. That's the final boss, by the way. I feel like we're missing a phase. Maybe it would help playing on a higher difficulty, but fundamentally, there's only one boss that's actually fun to fight against. But the game excels at unlockables. You can use the points to unlock art, interviews, and full issues of the comic. Not covers. Full issues you can read in-game. Well, not the full comic. You don't have the ads for the mail-order money printing machine. Then when you beat the game, you unlock new costumes, and you can play as motherfucking Blade. So now this is basically a new Blade game. Well, yes, but Blade is kind of underwhelming. He doesn't have the all-out attack or Devil Trigger, but the worst part is you can't unlock moves for him, so his moveset is very limited. It's still a cool unlock, but he's no Virgil. Well, that's Ghost Rider, and honestly, it's a solid game. Definitely a damn fine rental. I think it's just a couple more moves and some better bosses away from being a true hidden gem. Some might think it's too short, but 3 hours for a linear hack and slash is perfect. There wasn't really a frustrating moment or a time where I wanted the game to be over. It's perfectly paced for its length. There's a PSP version which plays similar to the PS2 version, but with its own twist. The sections of the levels are selectable and feel more like little arcade missions. You get skulls for completing certain criteria, which replaces the soul points in the shop. This one is definitely more adjusted for shorter gameplay sessions on a handheld, and even with less buttons, the combat is still fun. If you want a fun hack and slash that can work on your Chinese handheld, maybe give Ghost Rider a shot. Well, that was our journey through the Marvel games. Wait, stop! Ghost Rider on Game Boy Advance. Ghost Rider on Game Boy Advance. This actually makes less sense than Daredevil. Like, you already had a fine PSP version for a portable, but you decided the PG-13 Nicolas Cage movie needed that Game Boy Advance version in 2007. The DS was already 3 years old at this point. A DS version would make more sense, but I guess DSs could play GBA games, so maybe that's why? That's the menu sound effect? Just picking a random sound there, huh? Did all the borts? Oh wait, that's an S. I thought it said borts, even though it doesn't make sense. It's a 2D side-scroller where A and B attack and R jumps. It has more of an emphasis on combat, but the combat is kind of weird. Your chain has a very specific hitbox and can only attack things at the end of the chain. There's not much platforming, and you're just kind of killing the same enemy over and over. The first boss is just batting at me like a cat. The motorcycle levels are here too, and it's a decent little mini-game in between the levels. I'm not a fan of this one. It seems like they should have either focused on being more of an action platformer like Castlevania, or more classic beat-em-up like Final Fight. Instead, we get this weird in-between that's just not very fun. Okay, now we're done with the weirdo Marvel games. I know there are some games when the MCU started, like Iron Man, but I wanted to focus on the time period before Marvel became the biggest thing in entertainment. That time period when they went bankrupt. Then they changed cinema with Spider-Man. Then they awkwardly fumbled for 6 years. And then they changed cinema again with Iron Man. It's crazy how they succeeded in this 10-year plan with Endgame. They broke numerous box office records. They turned the finale into a worldwide event. And then they just made it the lamest shit ever. It didn't take them long to break out the multiverses. Did I enjoy seeing Toby in No Way Home or Wolverine put on his mask? Of course, I have a soul. But I also have a brain. And I know when I'm being manipulated by nostalgia. Just like this YouTube channel. I really do wonder what will happen to Marvel after Doomsday. Like, I'm sure it'll make a lot of money, but does Joe Normie care about 98-year-old Patrick Stewart in front of a green screen? It's so funny that there seems to be no plan for this billion-dollar enterprise. Like, they were doing the Kang thing before the actor got arrested, and I guess you can't recast the guy who has 1,000 versions of himself. We're not even going to get desperate Marvel now because they're backed by Disney. Marvel Rivals showed that people still love these characters. You just have to make them hot and do cool shit with them. I don't know. I'm just gonna watch the chaos unfold from the sidelines. So says I, the voyeur. Wow, what a fun video. You just got an exclusive preview of the entire video of Marvel Games Final.move. If you thought that shit was funny, why not support the channel at the Happytown World Patreon? You'll get access to exclusive content like unreleased shorts, the Lost Arkham Games episode, commentaries for every major video, a commentary for Kickassia, stream VODs from my failed Twitch career, behind-the-scenes updates, deleted scenes, and even scrapped episodes that weren't deemed good enough for the public. What a value! You'll also get early access to episodes and your name in the credits. So head on over to the Happytown World Patreon for tons of exclusive content, with more to come in the future. Thanks again for watching. I truly mean it. My work knows about this channel.